Hello and welcome back. I'm Rachel. You're watching 𝐊𝐴N TV live from Sydney. This is the Buzzing Trends Show. Let's get started with today's important news that could impact the markets. After a gaining end on Friday, the S&P/ASX 200 is marginally up today, flitting between narrow gains and losses, gaining 2.4 points to 7,032.70. This is following another split session on Friday for Wall Street as broader S&P 500 and Nasdaq fell, whereas the Dow Jones Industrial Average rose. The US Treasury yields eased as investors mostly shrugged off the data. Data firm IHS Markit revealed that US Manufacturing Purchase Managers Index rose to 61.5 in the first half of May 2021. That's the highest reading since October 2009. Economists polled by Reuters had forecast the index falling to 60.2 in early May. 6 of 11 sectors are higher along with the S&P/ASX 200 index. Healthcare is the best performing sector so far, gaining 1.11% at 12:33 this afternoon, Australian Eastern Standard Time. The rise in COVID-19 cases globally remain a concern. According to the World Health Organization, official death tolls attributed to the coronavirus pandemic are likely to be a significant undercount. Approximately 6 to 8 million people may have died so far, according to WHO, compared to the reported figure of around 3.4 million. India has become the third nation after Brazil and the US for more than 300,000 deaths due to the pandemic. Now let's start with today's highlights. The Australian government declared it sees no major international travel before June 2022, with a simultaneous travel bubbles discussion happening with Singapore and Pacific countries. The country wants some changes for travellers, such as the introduction of digital power declaration. This would include information about a person's health and vaccine status. Also, the internationally recognised vaccine passport. It is believed that the digital power declaration will allow Australians to not quarantine on arrival back home if they are vaccinated in Australia. Moving on now, Aristocrat Leisure reports first half results for the period ending 31st of March 2021. The company is an Australian-based gambling machine manufacturer headquartered in Sydney. The company reported a fall of just 1.1% in revenues, although there are some ongoing restrictions on casino and gambling venues. This is due to company's mobile video games business and the pokies trade, which are getting back to life in the US and Australia as the venues are reopened. The company, in lieu of such results, announced a distribution of 15 cents as dividend against no dividend last year. Moving on to the next news now, AFT Pharmaceuticals, a New Zealand-based wholesale distributor of prescribed drugs, reported profits for the financial year 2021, with a net profit after tax falling 12.7 million New Zealand dollars to 7.8 million New Zealand dollars. The net profit was higher last year as the company received a non-recurring payment to take over IP of the dermatology drug Pascomer. No royalty or milestone payments received this year. Still, the business managed to generate revenues of 113.1 million New Zealand dollars. That's up 7%. Now, before I share some more important updates and latest news from the Australian markets, let's take a very small break.
At 𝐊𝐴N TV, we'll take you to the heart of the Australian equity market. We'll bring you breakthrough stories that highlight volatility, as well as tailwinds building across the length and breadth of markets. Whether space travel will gain momentum, while economies may gradually open amid vaccine rollouts, our experts will share their timely inputs. So join us on this exciting journey of live streaming, financial and stock market news. 𝐊𝐴N TV.
And welcome back to the Buzzing Trends Show. Let's look at the next update now. Freedom Foods has completed a capital raise of $265 million. This includes a placement and an oversubscribed wholesale investor offer. Freedom Foods is engaged in sourcing, manufacturing, selling, marketing and the distribution of plant-based beverages, dairy and nutritional products. Moving on now, one of Australia's buy now pay later leaders, 𝐊𝐴 is set to acquire the remaining shares not currently held by 𝐊𝐴 in two companies operating in Europe and the United Arab Emirates for a total consideration of $160 million in either cash or shares. 𝐊𝐴 will acquire Twisto by fourth quarter and the Middle East focused Spoteye by the third quarter. These acquisitions will help the company expand into their global markets. Next up, Uscom's digital ultrasonic spirosonic air spirometer has secured the CE mark approval. The spirosonic air is the leading technology in spirometry, which is the tests to see how your lungs work. Using Uscom's patented multipath digital ultrasonic technology, wireless introduction charging and BT4 wireless communications. The CE mark stands for legal compliance with health, safety, environmental standards set by the European Community. This mark is essential for the sale of new medical technologies into the European economic areas. Moving on now, Caspian Resources reports a find of intersection of broad sulphide zones at Yarrabrook Hill near Perth. The drilling is now finished following the completion of 2 holes at Yarrabrook Hill for a total of 601.6 metres. Both the holes have encountered significant widths of sulphides. Next up, Australian-based technology company producing investigative analysis and intelligence software to extract meaning from unstructured data, 𝐊𝐴𝐥, announced that it is establishing independent board subcommittee and also said it will make additional board appointments based on recent market feedback. They'll be expanding the board from 5 with an international search firm for assistance. Next up, Synlab Milk on Monday said that it has downgraded its full-year financial year 2021 guidance on account of the expectations of shipping delays and lower prices for ingredient products. Moving on now, let us look at the crypto charter that defined broad sell-off across the world on Wednesday. In the cryptocurrency market, Bitcoin fell sharply over 10%. That was after China doubled down on its efforts to prevent speculative and financial risks by cracking down on the mining and trading of Bitcoin. The crypto fell 11.5% to $35,952 with its peers Dogecoin losing 11% to 30.3 US cents and Ethereum falling 9% to $2,095.50. On Thursday, the Fed flagged the risks cryptocurrencies posed to financial stability, while the US Treasury Department called for new rules that would require large crypto transfers to be reported to the Internal Revenue Service. Now, before I share a special report on the International Monetary Fund estimate to end the pandemic in 2022, let's take a very small break.
The market takes the weekend off, but your money won't. Get a comprehensive update on the ASX-listed stocks and market trends. Watch the experts touch upon the fundamental and technical developments and trending strategies in the equity space. We will be your daily guide as you explore the Australian share market, be it global vaccine developments or China's trade relations or global political turmoil or economic revival prospects. We will bring you live updates driving the equity market trends. 𝐊𝐴MG TV.
Welcome back to the Buzzing Trends Show. Let's get started with the special report. The International Monetary Fund estimates $50 billion cost to end the pandemic in 2022. The international financial institution believes that vaccinating at least 40% of the global population by the end of this year and at least 60% by the first half of 2022 could improve the situation. The IMF's report aims to reduce the gap in vaccines, diagnostics and therapeutics in many developing countries. According to the report, less than 2% of Africa's population have been vaccinated as of April end. That's compared to over 40% of the population in the US and 20% in Europe. A faster end to the pandemic could accelerate the resumption of economic activity, which could add $9 trillion into the global economy by 2025. That's according to the report. The report also highlighted the need for more advanced grants for COVAX, donating excess doses and removing barriers for cross-border export of critical raw materials and finished vaccines to defeat the pandemic. Of the total $50 billion, the IMF estimates grant financing of $35 billion. The G20 governments have already identified the need to address the $22 billion grant funding gap. National governments would have to fund the remaining $15 billion with the help of facilities created by multilateral and development banks to support COVID-19 concessional financing. Meanwhile, the IMF also noted that additional investment is needed to increase the vaccine production capacity by 1 billion doses to cover downside risks such as new variants. Also, widespread testing and tracing are required during the interim period where vaccine supply is limited. The pandemic policy is also economic policy, says IMF Managing Director Kristalina Georgieva in her remarks to the Global Health Summit, adding that a strong and coordinated action is required to come out of this health and economic crisis. Now, according to the data from Johns Hopkins University, total COVID-19 cases reached 166.4 million globally, while deaths increased to 3.4 million. In April, the IMF raised its growth outlook for the global economy to 6%. That was up from 5.5% expected earlier in the year. In 2020, the economy contracted 3.3%. Well, that's all from me for now. Keep watching 𝐊𝐴𝐾𝐼NE TV as we bring you the latest news and trending market updates live from Sydney. I'm Rachel, signing off for now.